Have you noticed something strange lately? You go to the supermarket, pick up the same items you always buy, and somehow the total is higher than before. You fill up your motorbike, and the number on the screen climbs faster than you expected. You order a simple meal, something normal, something you've eaten many times, and yet it feels more expensive than it should be. So you start to wonder, did prices really go up? Or is it just your imagination? And then a deeper question appears quietly in your mind. Why does everything feel more expensive, even when your life hasn't changed that much? Maybe your salary is the same. Maybe your routine is the same. Maybe you're not spending more than before. But still, at the end of the month, your money feels tighter, less flexible, less forgiving. And that feeling is not just yours. Millions of people around the world are asking the same question right now. Why does life feel heavier financially in 2026? At first, many people think it's because they are doing something wrong. They think, I should manage my money better. I should stop buying unnecessary things. I should work harder. But what if the problem is not only about you? What if something bigger is happening around you, slowly, quietly, affecting everything you buy every day? Think about this. A cup of coffee is not just coffee. It includes transportation, rent, electricity, labor, raw materials, and even global supply chains. A simple meal is not just food. It is connected to farming costs, fuel prices, weather conditions, and international trade. Even something as basic as a bus ride or a delivery fee carries hidden costs that most people never see. And when small changes happen in many different places at the same time, they begin to stack, slowly, silently, until one day you feel it, not as a sudden shock, but as a constant pressure, a quiet weight on your daily life. That's why this feeling is so confusing. There is no single moment where everything becomes expensive. Instead, it happens little by little. A small increase here, a small increase there, until your normal life starts to feel more difficult to maintain. And the most surprising part? Many of these changes are not directly visible. You don't see them on the surface. You just feel the result. You feel it when you hesitate before buying something. You feel it when you check your bank account more often. You feel it when you start asking yourself, do I really need this? So in this story, we're not just going to talk about prices. We're going to explore what's really happening behind them. Because once you understand the real reasons, that uncomfortable feeling you've been carrying might finally start to make sense. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to see your daily life in a completely different way. One of the biggest reasons everything feels more expensive is something most people don't fully see. It's called inflation. You may have heard this word before. But in real life, inflation is not just a number on the news. It is the quiet process where your money slowly loses its power. Not overnight, not in a dramatic way, but little by little. Imagine this. Last year, with the same amount of money, you could buy a full meal, a drink, and maybe even a small dessert. Now that same amount might only cover the meal, nothing else. The money didn't change, but what it can buy did. That's inflation. And in 2026, inflation is not just happening in one country. It's happening almost everywhere. After years of global disruptions, supply chain problems, and economic shifts, prices have been pushed up across many industries. Food costs more to produce, transportation costs more to operate. Rent becomes more expensive as cities grow, and demand increases. And businesses, in order to survive, have to adjust their prices. But here's the part that makes it feel heavier. Your income does not always rise at the same speed. For many people, salaries increase slowly, or sometimes not at all. So there is a gap, a quiet gap between what you earn and what you need to spend. And that gap is where the pressure begins. At first, it feels small. You might not notice it in one day, or even 1 week. But over time, it builds. You start cutting small things. Maybe you eat out less. Maybe you delay buying something you need. Maybe you choose the cheaper option more often. And without realizing it, your lifestyle begins to shrink. Not because you want it to, but because it has to. Another thing about inflation is that it doesn't affect everything equally. Some prices rise faster than others. Food, fuel, housing, the essentials often go up first. And these are the things you cannot avoid. You can delay buying new clothes. You can postpone upgrading your phone, but you cannot stop eating. You cannot stop commuting. You cannot stop paying rent. So when the essentials become more expensive, it hits harder, much harder. That's why even small increases feel big, because they touch your daily life directly. And there's something else. Inflation is not always obvious. Sometimes prices don't go up, but the product becomes smaller. A portion is reduced, a service includes less, a hidden adjustment that most people don't notice immediately. But over time, you feel it. You feel like you are paying the same for less. And slowly, that creates a quiet frustration. Not loud, not dramatic, just a constant feeling that something is not quite right. So when you ask yourself, why does everything feel more expensive? Inflation is one of the first answers, not the only one, but a powerful one. Because it works silently in the background of your life, changing the value of everything, including your time, your effort, and your money. But inflation is only part of the story. There is another reason, quieter, but just as powerful, and that is how your lifestyle slowly changes over time. Not in big, obvious ways, but in small, almost invisible upgrades. At first, you don't notice it. You switch to a slightly better coffee. You choose a more comfortable ride instead of the cheapest one. You order food delivery more often because it saves time. You subscribe to one service, then another, then another. Each decision feels small, reasonable, even deserved. You tell yourself, it's just a little more. And each time, that's true. But when all these little more moments come together, they quietly reshape your monthly spending. This is something many people experience, especially when their income increases, even slightly. It's called lifestyle inflation. As you earn more, you don't always save more. Instead, you upgrade your life. Just a bit. Better food, better convenience, better comfort. And none of these things are wrong. In fact, they make life feel easier, more enjoyable. But they also come with a hidden cost. Because once you get used to a certain level of comfort, it becomes your new normal. Going back feels difficult, even uncomfortable. Think about this. A few years ago, waiting for food or cooking at home every day might have felt normal. Now, after using delivery apps regularly, waiting feels inconvenient. Cooking feels like effort. So even if prices increase, you continue the habit because it's not just about money anymore. It's about comfort. And habits are powerful. They shape your decisions without you even realizing it. Another example is subscriptions: music, movies, cloud storage, apps, online services. Each one may cost only a small amount per month, but together, they become a fixed part of your expenses, something you rarely question, something that quietly reduces your financial flexibility. And here's the interesting part: even if prices stayed exactly the same, your life could still feel more expensive because your expectations have changed, your standard has changed. What once felt like a luxury now feels like a necessity. So when people say everything is getting more expensive, sometimes it's not just the world changing, it's also the way we live in that world, a slow shift, from simple to slightly more comfortable, from basic to a little more convenient. And over time, that shift adds weight to your daily spending, not all at once, but steadily, quietly, until one day you look at your monthly expenses and wonder how it became this much. So the question is not only, why are prices going up, but also, how has my life changed without me noticing? Because sometimes the answer is not outside, it's hidden inside your daily habits, in the small choices you repeat every day. So after everything we've explored, inflation, rising costs behind the scenes, lifestyle changes, hidden expenses, there is one final truth that many people slowly begin to realize. It's not just that everything is becoming more expensive, it's that money today feels more fragile than before. In the past, a small mistake in spending didn't feel serious. You could recover easily, you had a little space to breathe. But now, that space feels smaller. One unexpected expense, one small emergency, and suddenly your entire budget feels unstable. That's why even normal spending starts to feel stressful. Not because you are careless, but because the margin for error has become thinner. And when that happens, something else begins to change. Not just your bank account, but your mindset. You start thinking more before every purchase. You hesitate more, you calculate more. Even simple decisions begin to carry a quiet weight. Should I buy this now? Can I wait? Do I really need it? And while this awareness can be helpful, it can also be exhausting because it never really stops. So, what can you actually do in a world like this? Maybe the answer is not to fight every price increase, because some things are simply out of your control, but you can start by seeing clearly. Understanding where your money goes, not judging yourself, just observing. You might notice patterns, small habits that repeat every day, subscriptions you forgot about, convenience choices that slowly add up. And once you see them clearly, you gain something powerful. Not more money, but more control. And sometimes control is even more important because it brings back a sense of calm, a sense that you are not completely lost in rising costs. You are aware, you are adjusting, you are choosing, and maybe that's the quiet shift we all need. Not perfection, not extreme saving, but conscious living, living with awareness, even in a world that keeps getting more expensive. So the next time you feel that pressure, that quiet thought that says, everything is getting too expensive, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what is really changing around me? And what can I gently change within me? Because the world may continue to shift, prices may continue to rise, but the way you respond, that is still yours to shape. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this story helped you see things a little more clearly, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you've been feeling the same way, tell me in the comments. I'd really like to hear your story. Maybe together we can understand this changing world a little better.